I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon for our fourth webinar series that we've labeled Digging In. Today, we will be digging into the University of Georgia's College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences upcoming new leadership as well as our current leadership. I'm Gerald Long, farmer from Decatur County and president of the Georgia Farm Bureau. And I certainly appreciate each one of you taking time away from your farm and your businesses to be with us today. I'd like to say a special thanks to Dr. Nick Place, who will next January become the Dean of the University of Georgia College of Agriculture, and Dr. Joe West, who is currently serving as the interim dean, which is certainly no stranger to us. They will be our panelists today, and I know both of you are extremely busy. So I want to say thank you for being willing to join us today on this webinar series. Dr. Place and Dr. West, we certainly wish you could all be with us today in person, but we know we've had to make some significant adjustments due to the COVID-19, at least temporarily. You know, as we move away to a more traditional in-person meeting, this is the only way we got right now to get information to our farmers. As I said, this is our fourth series. So with that being said, I want to go over a few things, housekeeping that we need to do. The webinar today is being recorded. We understand there is a possibility there'll be some outside media being on this call. With that being said, this is a private meeting and the information shared today is not intended for public reporting. At this time, everyone on the call should be muted to cut down on the background noise. We will have a question and answer session at the end of our program, and there are two ways that you can submit your questions. The first one, at any time, you can type your questions in the question box in your control panel. We will collect these and address them at the end of our presentation during the question and answer part of our program. Second, you can click the button at the bottom of the page to raise your hand, and we will recognize you at the end of our program. Dr. Place, Dr. West, so that you know, we invited our 20 Farm Bureau commodity committees to join us today, which consists of almost 200 farmers from across the state. These members are some of the best producers of their respective commodities, and they are located throughout the state. We have also invited other Farm Bureau members, commodity groups, and associations from across the state. So we have a very good representation from across the state today in agriculture. For those of you that may have joined us a few minutes late, we are honored to have with us today Dr. Joe West, the interim dean of College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, and Dr. Nick Place, who will take the reins from Dr. West and begin his tenure in the next dean in January. Dr. West, you're no stranger to Farm Bureau, as we was talking about a few minutes ago. He was raised on a family dairy farm in Chapel Hill, Tennessee, and he's been employed by the University of Georgia since 1986. Most recently, he served as assistant dean of the University of Georgia Tifton campus and was named interim dean of the college on July the 1st, 2020, when Dean Pardue retired. Prior to his tenure as assistant dean, he was a professor at the University of Georgia Department of Animal and Dairy Science with a 35-year career with the University of Georgia. Now, Dr. West, if I've left anything out, please let us know and please give us an update from the College of Agriculture.
Well, you didn't leave anything out there, Mr. Long. Thank you for that. Thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you and with Georgia Farm Bureau today. The relationship between our organizations goes way back. It's very deep, and we're very, very pleased with that relationship. And I also say serving as the interim dean has been quite an honor for me. It's great opportunity to give back to College of Ag and the University of Georgia, which has been so important to this state and to my career. So it's been an honor to do so. And so to give you a brief update on the university and on the College of Ag, as you've already alluded to, these are really strange, challenging, and I'll use unprecedented times. And so we've really had to learn how to do things greatly differently than we have over the past. And so probably one of the biggest challenges we've had is just simply closing down a major university, getting stabilized, learning how to meet all the guidelines that are of safety that are out there, and then gradually reopening a major university that really, when you consider all the people that are associated with this, with us, students and faculty and staff, close to 50,000 people. And so it's a huge, huge undertaking. So following CDC guidelines, following USG, University System of Georgia, and also Governor Kemp's guidelines, we've implemented a really, I think, effective safety program. And gradually, after closing essentially our university in March, gradually reopening the university in 3 phases until in mid-August when our students came back, or in early August, we fully reopened the university to a new normal, but to meet the needs of our student population. And so compared to other universities, some who have gone fully online, we stayed the course. Our university had a good plan. And though it looks different, we've been able to maintain in face-to-face teaching for our students, which we think is very, very, very important. Our classrooms can only accommodate 20 to 25% capacity because of spacing needs. And so we have, in many cases, a hybrid way of delivering our courses where we ensure that our students have face-to-face contact with their faculty every week, and then the online component of their courses as well. And it looks like going into next spring, we're going to maintain a similar posture, but I will have to say the rate of infection for both our staff and faculty as well as our students is low, and it's been very successful. And I will point out that very recently the College of Ag was by niche rankings named number 2 in the United States, second only to Cornell University. And that measure is based heavily on the student experience. And so to be ranked number 2 as a College of Ag, and we're shooting for number 1, is very positive. So we feel good about what we've been able to deliver for our students. Research programs, we feel like our applied field research is critical, it's crucial. We've learned using the Vice President for Research's office and his guidelines for our laboratories, for our field laboratories. We've been safely able to implement those protocols in our field research, and our scientists are going full bore. And so those problem-solving questions that are present every day for our producers around the state of Georgia, our scientists are working really, really hard to address. And our granting is way up. We're at a record high for grant dollars, which means our faculty are funding very important research, and they're competitive on a national basis. Our extension programs, when you're an organization that's based on communication and people, and then you're faced with the challenges of a pandemic, you obviously have to learn a new way of doing business. And to their credit, our extension personnel have stepped to the challenge. Much of what they've had to deliver is virtual. They've learned how to do it. They continue to do it well. Our 4-H programs, rather than cancel them, we know how important it is for our 4-Hers. And so a lot of those have been delivered online as well. We're still learning. We're getting better at it every day, but we've really been able to step up and stay the course and maintain that kind of support for the industry. That is the reason that we're here. So that's kind of my update there, Mr. Long. But given the challenges, I have to credit the staff and the faculty for College of Ag is really stepping up there to serve the clientele.
Okay, thank you, Dr. West. Like I said, we will have some questions in, but I want to commend you and your staff for what y'all been able to do. Like you said, it's been a challenge for all of us in any industry. But can you imagine 50,000 people trying to get everything coordinated and try to get halfway normal? I want to commend you and your staff on that. So thank you very much, Dr. West, on that. Next, we have Dr. Nick Place, who is the incoming Dean of the College of Agriculture and Director of the University of Georgia's Corporate Extension Agricultural Experiment Stations. Dr. Place started his career in Pennsylvania, where he served as an extension agent for 12 years. He earned a master's degree in dairy and animal science and a PhD in agriculture and extension education from Penn State University. Dr. Place was a faculty member at the University of Florida from 1999 to 2007. Then he was Associate Dean and Director of the University of Maryland's Extension Program for 5 years before returning to the University of Florida as Dean and Director of the University Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences Extension Service. Dr. Place has a strong record of academic leadership and a successful record of applied research-based expertise. We're fortunate to have him in the University of Georgia system. Dr. Place, we're glad you joined us on this webinar today. So if you will, tell us anything that maybe I missed. I know you are glad to get back in the South when you came back from Maryland. So if you will, at this time, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and anything you need to add, feel free to.
So, Mr. Long, thank you for that introduction. I so appreciate being here. And also, Dr. West, thank you for your stepping up, being called upon to serve in this interim role until I'm able to get there. So, Joe and I go way back. So, Joe's a great guy, and I really feel very well about the leadership he's providing for our college. Just a couple other things I would say you need to know about me, in addition to what Mr. Long has shared. I also grew up on a dairy farm in Pennsylvania, grew up milking cows morning and night, before and after school, so very much familiar with that. And one of the things I said in my interview presentation was that has given me a tremendous appreciation for agriculture and natural resources and hard work and what it takes to put food on the table today. And my hat is off to agriculture producers. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, to be there to support agriculture into the future, because we have a huge job in front of us in regards to how we're going to feed this growing population, in addition to all these other kind of things that we face on a day-to-day basis. Mr. Long, I guess the other thing I'd say I want you to know about me is I grew up as a Farm Bureau member. My parents were and are Farm Bureau members in Pennsylvania. They're still actively involved in a number of ways at the local and state level. And I too have been a Farm Bureau member of Pennsylvania, Florida, and look forward to joining in Georgia when I get there, starting in January. I guess the other thing I'd say too that you've asked me to hit upon is, what do I see as some opportunities in the future for our college? And what I will say is there are so many issues, but then also opportunities that are in front of us in agriculture and natural resources as we think about where we are today and where we need to go into the future. When you think about agriculture production today and some of the challenges that we face in regards to employment and worker-related issues, there's things we deal with water quality and quantity, pests and diseases, global market pressures, and the things that we face with regulations, the differences in consumer expectations of what we have today versus what we had a mere 10, 20 years ago, and what is that going to mean to us into the future. But then also, as you think about the technology of what we have today in agriculture and what we will have in the future is going to be very critical. And as you think about that, we have to have a premier a College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences to be working in that space to make sure that we have the next set of student leaders that are well trained to work on these issues and opportunities that are out there, have the ability to take advantage of these things related to technology that can be advancing agriculture production. We need a strong research program that is addressing the basic needs as well as the applied needs that we have in agriculture and natural resources, things that will ensure that are addressing the issues and concerns that you all have as producers around the state of Georgia. But then also we need a strong extension program that can bring out that latest research and knowledge and education and help you implement that on your farms and help advance what we do around communities and with families around the state of Georgia. So all three of those missions are very critically important for our College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. And that's certainly the way that I'll be looking at going after this job and looking for ways that we can advance all three of our critical mission areas for the college.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Place. Now, and I'm glad to hear that you will become a member of Georgia Farm Bureau. But also remember, when you cross that Georgia-Florida line, you're no longer a gator, you're a bulldog. Getting that right, Dr. West?
That is absolutely right. We're already getting him some red and black, so he's going to be fine.
Yeah, good. But,
yeah, so notice I wore my red and black today, and I'm working on that. Go Dogs. So Joe's been working with me on that.
Well, great. We're looking forward to working with you. And again,
Yeah.
Dr. West, we certainly will miss you, but we certainly understand and thank you for filling in during this time that we needed you, okay? Certainly.
Thank you very much. Glad to do so.
Got a couple of questions for y'all. You know, the extension, as you just said, the extension service is very near and dear to us as producers. And of course, you know, as I asked my father years ago, I called him Pops. I said, Pops, what's next year's going to be like? He said, well, son, we say it's going to be better next year. He said, I won't say that, but I will promise you it will be different. So we're already, you know, thinking about next year, even though we're not even through harvesting all our crops this year. But as we have our spring crop production meetings, how are we going to be able to communicate with our extension agents, you know, whether it's beef cattle, production meetings, peanuts, cotton, corn, whatever it is. You know, a lot of times those meetings are pretty large meetings. So how are we going to deal with it if we still having to deal with the COVID-19? How are we going to be able to communicate with what we call our county agents, our county extension people? What's your thoughts on that?
So, Joe, do you want to start about where we are currently, and then I'll
be glad
build
to.
upon that.
I'll be glad to. There's no doubt, and of course, the governor still has his guidelines in place. And being a state agency and part of the university system, we have obligations to follow. But by the same token, we recognize just how important it is to deliver that information. So there will continue to be a significant amount of virtual delivery. We've learned with field days and things of that nature where we weren't able to really get together that we've been able to conduct field days successfully. And one of the neat things about it is that information's archived. So you don't necessarily have to be there at that time. You can get it later if you need to. We still can meet people where they live, if you want to say that. We can meet people on the farm and do face-to-face small groups as well. So our agents can still interact with producers safely. So it's still going to be a combination of virtual as well as small group face-to-face to deliver that needed information. And we hope that going into next year, we learn more about the efficacy of a vaccine and things of that nature. And I just am confident that eventually we'll return to much more semblance of normal than we are today.
All right, thanks, Joe. Yeah, so just to add a little bit to what Joe has mentioned there. So I do believe this has been a very, very challenging time for all of us, and Extension is no exception. And our Extension agents here in Florida, just like in Georgia, have really had to do a tremendous amount of change and pivoting in regards to how they do their educational programs. But I also have noticed here, and also with those that I've talked with in Georgia too, that this has also presented some opportunities in regards to how we think about delivering educational programs in new and different ways. And it also has opened up opportunities for us to reach people that we have not been able to connect with before. The one example here in Florida, which is I think you all will appreciate, is we had an 84-year-old cattle producer from South Florida that approached one of our agents down there who really had previously kept to himself, had not done too much with Extension. He ended up calling the Extension agent. He said, hey, do you know anything about YouTube? He kind of stumbled upon all of these YouTube videos that are out there related to cattle production. And then our agent ended up connecting with him, and she sent him a host of other information and resources. And now that has opened up this tremendous partnership between our agent as well as this cattle producer, that fairly significant cattle producer there in South Florida. So I think we can use technology to look at new and different ways of delivering information. One of the things that I think we have as an opportunity is to look at how do we blend together things we do with online learning and using technology to deliver some of the basic foundational information, but then use face-to-face learning to really do a lot more deeper dive into what does that information mean and how do I apply it to my particular operation. And our agents will be in a position to really help our producers think about how to apply this newfound knowledge that they have. So there's an opportunity, I think, for connecting the technology with the face-to-face learning. Just like Dr. West mentioned, we're doing the same thing here. We are having our agents get out. They're able to meet with producers on a as needed basis. There's a protocol they need to follow, but they certainly are getting out and doing that. I'd expect to continue to do the same thing there in Georgia when I get up there starting in January, because to me that is so important that we have that face-to-face connection between our agents and the producers. There's things that our agents need to share with producers, and frankly there's things that producers need to feedback and provide to our agents as well. That two-way communication is so important.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Place, Dr. West, for those comments. You know, 2 weeks ago, we hosted Governor Kemp on this Digging In series. And of course, right now, he's already in the middle of developing a budget proposal for the next legislative session. And of course, as we all know, the cuts that was made this past session, they were not quite as severe as we initially expected them to be.
We did have significant cuts, just like all other state agencies. So we were all treated equally. We did expect significantly more cut than we got, but we started on it as soon as we could. We have implemented those cuts, and we're assessing where we are now and looking forward to the next year and planning for it. Many of our cuts were absorbed by positions that were open. So we've had to give back a significant number of positions and the funding associated with that. But we feel like we've accomplished that at this point. The feedback that we get from the state at this point is that they're not anticipating additional cuts, which is good news for us. And then we're very, very cautiously addressing positions on an as-needed basis. So whether it's research, extension, or teaching, we recognize that when we lose positions like that, it creates holes. And so we're working very strategically to apply the resources that we've got to try to address those holes that we have. And so there are going to be some key positions filled at different locations around the state and within counties. We recognize our county extension, we've lost a significant number of agents. We also recognize that the counties fund a portion of many of those positions. And so being able to be sensitive to what the counties can deliver and supporting them is very important to us. So we're filling area positions that may cover more than one county. We've filled some key specialist positions, but we're being very strategic in that.
Joe, I'll just build a little bit upon what you said, and that is kind of looking into the future. So I can tell you right now that I've already had a number of conversations with UGA leadership in regards to governmental relations. I've had a number of meetings with them about efforts that we need to do to connect with the governor as well as legislators that can and will support the college moving forward in regards to the funding that we need in order to get the job done across all three mission areas, as Dr. West talked about there. And recognize, and I'm fully ready to jump into the legislative session that starts the second Monday of January. So I'm all in and all on board with that, and we're going to be doing what we need to ensure that there is the adequate support necessary for the college. I also want to let you know too that there is a major emphasis and push to advance what we're able to do with precision agriculture and food systems, and that is an effort that is important to the state. It's an effort that has been led by the Lieutenant Governor. The Provost has been part of that, as well as a number of people from UGA and particularly from our college. And we certainly see that as a tremendous opportunity for us in Georgia to position our college and the university such that it is the leader for innovation in precision agriculture and all of the different kinds of new technologies that are out there. There is a tremendous opportunity for us to be advancing that space. And also, as you think about things related to food systems, food safety, food entrepreneurship, that also is something that is critically important to our state, to us as agriculture producers, but then also something that we see as critically necessary for our college to be focusing on as well. So we're looking for ways how we can be advancing that, not only with state support, but then also looking at private support that we can bring in to be advancing any of those areas as well. So just add a little bit to what Dr. West was saying. We
are going to ask some questions from the floor if you want to. Be sure when you ask a question that you unmute your mic. And for those that maybe join us by phone, you need to hit *9 and we will recognize you for your question. And then you will need to unmute your phone using the *6. But at this time, I will recognize Andy Harrison. He has a question. Andy, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Andy.
Okay, good. Good to see all of y'all and Mr. Long. And I know y'all you get right off into the sunset and as a retired Farm Bureau president, go back to Bainbridge and straighten out everybody down there. And Dr. West, I appreciate everything you've done as interim dean. And Dr. Place, I'm really excited about you coming on board. And like I've told you a couple of times in emails, if you're passing through South Georgia, since I live in Valdosta, stop and we'll get a glass of tea and talk about it. But some things. But one of the things you had talked about in your stakeholder meeting during the interview process with the importance of meeting these stakeholder groups and commodity groups and all that. And I know the first few, to begin with, it's all going to be, the wheels are going to be spinning wide open and fast. But kind of how would you like us to start thinking about this and setting up some meetings and trying to get in kind of what would be your approach of what we can do with all of our commodity commission groups? because they are very interested in you coming on board. And of course, they'd like to kind of, I'm not going to say have a gripe session. Sometimes it's hard to keep them from doing that, but kind of point out what their needs are and objectives are and what they would like to see the university do. And I'll tell you, one of them is to figure out how to get more of our rural kids into the University of Georgia, which that's always challenging, but also how do we address the other needs that they might have for their farming operations back home.
Andy, thanks so much, and good to hear from you again. And I definitely will be taking you up on that opportunity to stop there and have a glass or two of tea with you and lunch perhaps. So in relation to your question, I'm a person that really wants to meet with stakeholders, and I see that as critically important for really understanding what your needs and concerns are. To me, that is important for making sure that what we do in the college is well grounded of the needs that you all see from around the state. I typically, and what I've done here in Florida, what I'd like to do there as well is have an opportunity to work with Farm Bureau leadership to get around to different parts of the state for meetings. Now, recognize because of COVID-19 and some of the restrictions that we have, things will be different. So, Andy, we may need to look at some mix of doing some virtual meetings, such as what we're doing here right now, but nothing beats some small face-to-face interaction where there can be truly some give and take and learning from one another. I also have some questions I want to ask of producers, and in a in-person setting, that is a much better way to do that. So that's something I want to do early on after I get up there in January. So I'd like to connect with Farm Bureau leadership in regards to how we might go about doing that. I think you all have some districts that you have that are part of Farm Bureau, and perhaps we could go around and do some district-wide listening sessions. That's the first approach I think I would suggest, Andy, is that.
Yeah. Well, the commodity commissions are the ones, that are established by the state legislature, such as the Cotton Commission, Pecan Commission, and most of those are five to seven people. So that would be pretty easy to set up small groups. We could find a place that has a big room, everybody could spread out. We've been able to do that some this year and been able to have some pretty effective meetings. And it's always more effective to meet in person because you kind of get the reaction. And some people that are quiet on Zoom will be a little more outspoken. Sometimes that's good, sometimes bad, but nevertheless, they're all looking forward and to visiting with you and see if we can make the University of Georgia the number one college of agriculture in the country.
Absolutely. And that sounds like a good plan. So let's make sure we follow up on that early on as I get there, as I'm laying out my calendar here over the next, the first few months in 2021. Let's do that.
Okay, good deal.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. We have a question. I'm going to recognize Samantha McLeod. Samantha, you on?
I am. Good afternoon, President Long. How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm glad to see that even though we've done several of these Zoom meetings, that I'm not the only one that encounters issues. So it's all relatable. But hello to Dr. West. Thank you for stepping in. Like we all said, it's good to see you back.
Hi, Samantha, it's so good to hear from you.
Thank you. And welcome to Dr. Place. I don't actually have a specific question for you, but I just wanted to say hello and welcome to UGA from the Georgia Pecan Growers here in the state. We're excited to have you on board and excited to meet you, like Andy said. We'd love to get together when able. But yeah, welcome and thanks for being here.
So Samantha, thank you very much for that welcome, and absolutely I want to get together with our pecan growers there in Georgia. That is a critically important crop for our state. So I need to know more about the industry and some of the concerns that you have, as well as how we can help you in the college. So I'll take you up on that, Samantha. Thank you.
You bet, and thank you to Farm Bureau and President Long for putting this together. This has been really great.
Wes, I guess this sort of is your wheelhouse. You stated earlier that y'all are trying to get back to normal. How has it affected the students' daily activities with the COVID-19, and is it having a significant impact on the enrollment and the prospective student applications? Have you seen any of that?
We actually feel really good about our enrollment. Our enrollment for fall 2020 here was down less than 1%. Really, it amounts to about 20 students on the undergrad side, a slight increase on the graduate side. But compared to some of our sister institutions, we held our enrollment very, very strongly. And so we think that's a really good sign. There was so much uncertainty associated with the fall semester that we really didn't know what to expect. And we feel really good. And the overall University of Georgia has maintained enrollment very well. Having said that, we have a significant amount of concern for our students. When we're not able to be in the classroom every day, and you're in an environment up here where they're somewhat isolated at times, we worry about the well-being of our students, and that's the reason the university has encouraged very strongly to maximize our face-to-face instruction and our face-to-face advising and things of that nature. So it is different because of limited classroom capacity. We can only have 20 to 25% of the capacity at any one time, which means some of them are online. We have seen that some of the students have, as they've learned about that online capacity or capability, that many times they choose to stay in their dorm room and have their classes from there when they have that ability. It gives their parents concern. Their parents want them to have a normal college experience. And so we're working really hard. Again, I feel good about what we've been able to deliver this fall. However, we've learned a lot, and we're working hard toward next spring having even more face-to-face opportunities safely first and foremost, but more face-to-face opportunities for our students. So really right now we're feeling good about where the College of Ag is as far as enrollment. And once we get through what next spring looks like, we're all somewhat confident that things are going to improve and the college will continue to grow as it has in recent years.
Okay, I have one more question. You know, hemp production is picking up in Georgia. What research is being done at the University of Georgia, I guess, for Dr. West and Dr. Place? What do you see maybe you can bring along with that as it gets more and more popular and more farmers are looking at that new commodity?
Nick, maybe I'll kick off with what has been done. It's a new crop with some guidelines associated with it. Our initial research has been somewhat limited because, again, with the economy like it is, we're not able to put a lot of new dollars into it. One of our scientists, however, has reoriented some of his efforts and really has been looking at different crop cultivars of it to see what grows where, more importantly, what doesn't grow where. And so looking at what hemp, which ones are adapted and which ones are not. Going forward, though, if we're going to put a major emphasis into this crop, it's going to take some resources that we currently don't have. But we also recognize that it's going to be a viable crop here, and that we'll provide the support when those resources become available.
So thanks, Joe. Just to add a little bit to that, I do see that hemp does hold some opportunity, and to me, it's part of the suite of different alternative crops and enterprises that are out there for producers to help them diversify their operations and look at other ways to bring in income to support their farming operations. But it is something that needs a lot of work on the research side as well as the extension outreach side of getting that latest information out to producers. There is a need for additional resources, as Dr. West has mentioned, so that's certainly something we need to work on, and frankly, we could work on that together with Georgia Farm Bureau. But there also are some issues I know with just processing and having what do people or producers do with the hemp that they do produce. And I know a number of producers here in Florida, as well as in some other states, have had some issues in relation to that. So here's another area that we do need to look at, do some research on, and look at how do we have the right kind of infrastructure in place for handling this material that producers are producing out there across the state. So there's just a couple of additional thoughts I would add, Mr. Long, to what Joe had mentioned.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We do have one that's raised her hand, Miss Lindy Savelle. Miss Lindy, you have a question probably for Dr. Place, I would guess.
Yes, I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Lindy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, President Long, Dr. West. Thank you for what you do every day, and Dr. Place. I look forward to meeting you. I serve as the president of the Georgia Citrus Association. So when Samantha stepped up and Andy were talking about meeting with you, certainly we would be interested in getting on your calendar as well. We don't have a commission, but we have an association, and we are growing stronger every day. And of course, when we saw your background and where you're coming from, we know that's going to be a great thing for citrus. So we're excited about that. Citrus, just continues to grow, not only in number of acres, but in varieties. And University of Georgia, I don't know if you're yet aware of this, but the University of Georgia has 3 varieties already out there, and they're releasing another one. So that's exciting times for the university. And when you were talking about hemp, one of the things that citrus definitely needs, it being a specialty crop, it's one of those items that farmers are adding to the list of crops that they're growing. And it's about 2,000 acres in the state now, but research and extension are places where, we could always use more. And Dr. West, I'm sure is certainly aware of that. He attended our last conference, and we talked about just how we're growing. And when you grow, you need assistance from researchers and experts. So we're excited about you being here, and we look forward to working with you. I don't really have a specific question, but I did want to take the opportunity to kind of ring the bell for this new specialty crop in the state of Georgia.
So let me just say thank you for that warm welcome, and absolutely I look forward to meeting with you and the rest of the folks of the Citrus Association. It's been incredible to me to see over the last, I'd say probably 5 to 10 years, about seeing how citrus has taken off in North Florida and Georgia as well. And I think as there's been more and more issues here in this state with citrus greening and some of the other, and with canker and things like that we've been dealing with, I think this has also opened the door for citrus production there in that part of the country. And so I do see it as a alternative enterprise, an opportunity that we have for producers there in the state. I do have some experience in citrus, of course, and I look forward to making that connection with our association to see how we could be advancing citrus production there for the state of Georgia. So thank you for that welcome, Lindy. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Lindy. Do we have any other questions from out in the field before we wrap up? If not, Dr. Place, Dr. West, do y'all have any closing comments you would like to make to the group that's listening today?
Well, I'll go first so Nick can kind of put a bow on it. But we just, it's a pleasure to hear from people in the field and from our commodity groups. We know that that's one of the major clientele that we serve. You also put significant funding into our organization to help support our research and extension. Georgia Farm Bureau puts funding into our programs as well. And so it's just this kind of connection is very, very important to us as a College of Ag. And so as I near retirement again, I just have to express my appreciation to Georgia Farm Bureau, to you, Mr. Long, for your leadership, and to all the people that are listening today, because the partnership is strong and it's very important. So we appreciate the support that you provide and have provided for us over the years.
So thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Just a couple of closing comments I will make, Mr. Long, and that is, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to be with you here this afternoon. And as I mentioned before, interactions such as this with producers and with Georgia Farm Bureau are critical to us in the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. And I look forward to this being the first of many, many interactions and conversations that we have moving forward about how we can strengthen agriculture and natural resources across the state. That is so critically important. And we need a strong college, and we need producers that are back in the college as we have there in Georgia. So thank you very much for that as well. There was a number of things that have come up here today. And one of the things, Andy, that you brought up that is also important to me is how do we get more of our rural youth involved and engaged in the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. That's something I'm very passionate about, coming from a rural area myself, and understanding some of these issues that are facing rural youth today. And there are some things that are out of our hand because we do have a centralized enrollment system, but I think there are some things that we can do together moving forward about utilizing 4-H and FFA as ways that we can get and train young people so they're have really strong applications as they apply to the University of Georgia. And first of all, making sure that young people apply to the university. If they don't apply, they're certainly not going to get in. So we need to be addressing that aspect as well. But Andy, since you brought that up, I did want to mention that, and I think that's important for many of our folks that I know that are part of Farm Bureau. So with that, Mr. Long, I do appreciate this opportunity. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to getting up there in January and getting going. There's lots to work on. And I look forward to working with Farm Bureau as a great partner as we ensure that our college is #1 in the nation. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Place. Dr. Place, I want to welcome you in the Georgia Farm Bureau family, but also in the agricultural family in Georgia. As you know how diverse we are, like Florida and all. So we're looking forward for you coming to Georgia. We're looking forward to you to be part of our big family. As this COVID-19 has been a challenge, I believe that when there's a challenge, there's an opportunity. We just have to find it. So with your leadership, I'm sure we will. So thank you, Dr. Place. Dr. West, what can I say? But thanks for everything you've done. As you made the comment a while ago, you retiring for the second time. But I hope you will still continue to be part of not just Georgia Farm Bureau, but agriculture in Georgia, as you see the importance of it, and for everything that you've done for this organization and for agriculture in Georgia. I say a deep thank you very much. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon and our digging in. Certainly appreciate you doing that. Appreciate our guest here with us today. Y'all have a good, safe day, and thank you very much.